Hello and welcome to AI Transformation Webinar. I'm Cynthia Nelson, your host and moderator today. I'm a Forbes contributor, investor, advisor, and three-time entrepreneur. I have the pleasure of having some of the smartest people in the room to talk about what AI actually can do for your business in media, marketing, entertainment, and brands. And it is not ChatGPT, everybody. There is stuff way beyond this. I just want to make this super, super clear. Everybody who's on the phone or on the webinar today, just know that we are recording this. The full recording will be available and sent to you via email. There'll also be snippets available as well, that we'll be posting those across LinkedIn and other social media channels. If you want to reach out to any one of these people that are on this today, just email me. You all have my email address, and I will make sure I make those introductions directly. I know their phone lines will be buzzing. Well, I think that's kind of an old thing to say. Not phone. Who picks up the phone anymore? Their emails will be, inboxes will be full after this. Let's just say that. So I'm going to take a second and let everybody introduce themselves because they're way better at than I am. And I'm just going to go ladies first with Jackie Hernandez.
So Cynthia, first of all, thanks for having me and bringing these great minds together. I'm really looking forward to the discussion today. I'm Jackie Hernandez, founder and CEO of New Majority Ready, which is a marketing strategy and content development firm that focuses specifically on both diverse multicultural consumers as well as next generation, in particular Gen Z. Before that, my career was in media, where I worked on a number of different brands, from Telemundo to NBC Universal, and on different mediums. But I've always been very consumer-centric, and I'm fascinated with how the consumer, especially Gen Z, is really leaning in and enhancing their lives with AI. So it's great to be here.
Thanks, Jackie. Ruzbe?
Hey all, Ruzbe Aminpour. I'm one of our technical solution engineering leads. I focus here at Google Cloud. I focus heavily on essentially building the connectors between our core products that you all hear about and real world use cases. So the stitching of all those products together to make meaningful applications. Been at Google Cloud for just over 2.5 years, ex Microsoft Azure, ex Amazon, and ex startup. So have been having lots of fun in my career, I would say. Really exciting time, and thank you for having me on this session. Excited to talk about all the cool things that's going on in our world.
Awesome. Borja?
Hello, thank you everyone. Thank you, Cynthia. Borja Perez, I'm the co-founder of Maincore. We are an AI solution that basically helps programmatic media buying to be more efficient through the implementation of certain layers of AI and machine learning. Prior to this, I worked at NBC Universal together with Jackie for 16 years, basically on digital. Before leaving, I was head of revenue strategy and innovation. And prior to that, I did everything tech related around the Hispanic market, AOL Latino, Yahoo en Español, MSN Latino. So basically, I focus all my career on the digital space and helping multicultural audiences.
Thank you. Reza, last but not least.
Thank you, Cynthia, for having me with great people here on the webinar. This is Reza Hashemi, co-founder, CEO of Bench. At Bench, we focus on providing consumer intelligence and marketing AI solutions, utilizing our proprietary personality-driven segmentation, PDS. And before starting this journey at Bench, my background coming from data science, study at MIT, and from early days, my focus was how can we understand consumers and their emotional behaviors across multiple platforms. Work at Intel, but my life always been entrepreneur, 2 successful exits, and this is the 3rd journey I'm at.
Super. So for the audience that's here, chat is wide open. Thanks for the shout out there about women first. Love that. Please put anything you want to talk about in the chat. This is a conversation. I'm going to be asking a series of questions just to get things started. And then towards the end or the back half, we'll be doing demos and slides from each one of the presenters on the technology side. So please do put things in the chat that you want to know about. I'll be monitoring that throughout. Again, we are recording this, so just everybody knows. And let me just start off with the first set of questions. Hold on one sec. Okay. So we know EIEIO, as I say, AI, EIEO. There's so much BS going on around there, and there's so much confusion that's happening in the marketplace, and so many things that people say are AI, but really haven't been tested, really aren't grounded in the big large language models. So in general, Gen AI versus predictive platforms, can you provide an overview of kind of generative AI and how it differs from actual AI platforms like Binge, like what you're doing at Google Cloud, like what's happening with MainCore? I'm going to start off with Ruzbe, and then let's kind of circle around from there.
Sure. So think of AI as just a continuum, rather than the next generation that's come. If you look 40 years ago, we started with some of the early stage experimentations with AI, right? And trying to understand, or at least try to perceive and come close to bringing together data and information of the world so we can make better decisions, whether it's improvements in productivity, efficiency. Over time, we've continued to expand, and as both on the hardware side, we've had great progress to compute more, but also on the software side, we're getting better at understanding of how the relationship between information of the world is. We're able to do more. So if you look at the last 10 years, for example, a lot of work that I've done in sensor fusion or computer vision, we've still had a certain level of understanding and certain ways or methods by which we've been leveraging information of the world to accrue value from artificial intelligence perspective, right? This next wave with generative AI is just a continuum of that, where now we're able to access more information of the world to bring back more value from AI's perspective. So it's not this completely transformational net new thing that the world never foresaw. This chapter of the world actually started in 2017-ish, when we started to learn about how we can use these kinds of transformers to essentially accrue more value to this next chapter of AI. And now we're just passing that chasm where we are able to actually bring those kinds of use cases to life, essentially. So I would look at them from a continuum perspective rather than earth-shattering angle. Because it also, when you look at it from that perspective, it actually calms a lot of concerns or worries that people have, which is something completely new came and it's disruptive, as opposed to a continuum, which actually is accruing value on top of past chapters of the good things that we've been doing. And by the way, all of us have been experiencing AI in some way, shape, or form, whether you're using search, maps, Google Lens, for example, photos. Think about all of those different applications. So it's just a matter of how do we take those and just bring them one chapter forward. Now, some of the changes are happening are more step ladder approach, right? Where we just get so much better that we can accrue value faster. But that's essentially it's just an upward curve is what I would consider.
Any feedback? Reza, Borja, related to this?
I think Ruzbe is right on point. I think AI been part of our life for a long time. I like to look at AI as a spectrum. There's a lot of application that's going to come in handy and how you're going to utilize it. And I think if everyone start thinking around AI as a good tool that could, in my point of view, majority of the stuff that what AI is doing today for us, we've been doing it in the past as part of different tools or in a manual process. AI gives us the access to process more and faster and give us better and accurate information to make decision or even create content or materials. I think that's the value that AI is bringing to date. And that's a differentiation of, I think, even though if you look at the generative AI to give you content materials and everything is giving you is being based on what humans previously created and it's been trained on. And same as predictive, obviously you have now access to a massive amount of data sets that you could process faster. That all times, if you were a big data company, you had to collect data for 6 months and process for another 6 months to get to a conclusion. Now with the hardware that we have access to and the machines that we have access to, we could process all those stuff in a matter of weeks, let's say.
Anything? Or how, yeah.
For us, particularly because we focus just on the advertising ecosystem, we saw, we started the company around 2.5 years ago, and we saw a lot of effort towards AI, generative AI, just on the creation of content, more on the creative part of the business. For us, it was okay. This is excellent, but how do we make media buying more efficient? How do we improve targeting? Because the question was, we were having, every day we were adding more data to the process, but the aggregation and the usage of that data was very challenging. You're still in the programmatic ecosystem. You still needed to have a human optimizing campaigns twice or 3 times a day, while a machine can do it, 1,000 times faster and 1,000 times better. So that's how we ended up focusing more on the programmatic and media buying sides rather than on the creative part of the advertising business.
And if I could just jump in, Cynthia.
Yeah.
Just like I look at it, I'm just going to take it down. I was with a client and they were like, what do I do with AI? And I was like, first of all, you're probably already using it every single day and you don't realize it. Second of all, it's really when you look at AI and generative AI and you add what I call HI, which is human intuition, you can really have amazing results. And so I tried to break it down where it's like AI is using data analytics. So what Reza was talking about, really getting rich, actionable insights that can inform what you're doing. And then what Borja was saying, using it for machine learned programmatic advertising, where you're getting real-time optimization and you're not wasting anything. But then you add in the generative AI. And so I gave them an example. Let's say you're a big major retailer like a Macy's, and you're looking to promote floral dresses, and a consumer has been browsing that and they are looking for that. And you also know this consumer happens to love Jennifer Coolidge and last night watched 2 episodes of White Lotus. So the next day you can send them literally all these ads. You can even make copy that sounds like Jennifer Coolidge's character. And that's the magic. This is where marketing has gone from here to here based on AI.
That's a great, like, again, bringing it down to a client side level, because again, there's a lot of confusion related to it. We do have a question that came in the chat from Vince Rico. Who do you see as the owner of creating the data lakes and then normalizing the data from a stakeholder perspective?
Owner of creating data lakes. I assume you're talking about the graphs essentially that's needed to build these kinds. I don't necessarily think you see it as a single owner perspective, because if you look at all the different, well, there's 2 aspects. There is a horizontal graph that can help with understanding of general things, like how do you create a sentence structure in document understanding. But there's all sorts of verticalized applications that also need graphs. And I see not only big companies, but also smaller companies like startups that are developing graphs around and doing amazing work as well in understanding of different aspects. Like, for example, image generation. You actually see many good startups that are doing some great work. As a matter of fact, it's decentralized to the point where if you look at Google's Vertex platform, we actually have a model garden now where we host something like 100 plus different models that are being developed, backed by individual graphs that are being hosted. So I think what you're going to see is a combination of centralized and decentralized, but more so on the decentralized side, because the verticalization actually makes a big difference in the quality of the AI models.
He just gave you like a great answer. So my propeller was spinning way too fast on that one. I was like, okay, not understanding all of that, but I'm glad that you guys do. Next question. How is AI transforming traditional market research methodologies? I'm going to start with Reza and then move on to Jackie.
Can you repeat your question one more time?
Sorry. Yep. How is AI transforming traditional market research methodologies?
Oh, that's my favorite bread and butter question. So I think traditionally within marketing research, we tend to focus heavily on surveys datasets. And I think one way or another, we all have seen those survey questions. And I think that's a great one type of method of collecting information around your consumers that you're going after. But with this day and age of having access to a lot of great tools and great machines, and with the advancement within the LLM world, it just allows us to understand your consumers beyond those service data. One thing that I always say about service data is you have two types of service data. One that randomly you're a customer of a platform, you see a pop-up, you just respond to it unconsciously, and then you have those paid surveys. But majority of the surveys coming out of those paid focus group surveys. And research groups within marketing teams, they tend to focus on those information because that's your best, I would say, closed environment. You could actually audit that information and be like, hey, you know what? We were able to understand this segment of audience that we are going after. The problem with that is if you are doing marketing, you are tapping into the unconscious and the conscious behavior of your audience. And if you put me in a survey and I've been paid to do a certain actions, unconsciously, I will be biased based on the responses that I'm providing. So that just makes the job way more harder to be able to have a true unbiased information that you can count on. And I think that's where I think majority of the marketings that they face challenges or, they get negative feedbacks are before they release the marketing, they did do the research that they wanted to do. They had all the information in their hand, but the information wasn't good enough to rely on based on the environment we are. We are not, I mean, I think if you look back 10 years ago, all of us as consumers, maybe we would use 2, 3 public platforms. Now, if you go through your phone, we are going through different channels, different platforms, and we do actually behave a little different in each of we are the same people, but we do behave a little different based on the environment we are at. And I think that's a main piece for marketing and research teams to be able to understand their consumers. And that's where we in our company, we said, let's go and identify the best unconscious data sets about the consumers you want to market to and what's matter. So you could actually and you're going to make your consumers happier by talking to them in a way they could understand you. And vice versa, you're going to create a conversion that you're looking for. And I think thanks to AI and accessing to the right information, which in parentheses to that point, I never say there is been ever lack of data in this world. There always been a lot of data. You always have access to a lot of information. It's a question of, do you have the clean, right data sets and the right output for the right needs? And I think within the marketing research teams, what they're always after is you want to activate the emotion of your consumers. And within our company, we focus on the personality, which we're going to dive deeper into that.
Jackie or any comments?
Yeah, clearly everything Reza said, clearly you are the founder of Binge. I look at it as AI has revolutionized customer segmentation in a way that it goes well beyond demographics. It gets into the hearts, the minds, the habits, and literally, ultimately, the digital wallets of consumers. Because you really know what makes them tick. You know what they're browsing, you know where they're visiting, you know what they're watching, listening to. So you get all of that information. So it's taken it to another level. The second big revolutionary thing is the speed. I mean, an AI algorithm can analyze data, huge data sets in seconds. And so it's real-time data. You're not getting research, looking at it, analyzing it, and it's stale. It's real time, and you can use it to apply to change your creative, your messaging, your ad buy, optimizing your programmatic, even dynamic pricing, because you now know what this consumer is used to paying or not paying. So it's like really getting into the head of the customer in a whole new way.
Or any comments to that?
But I think to Jackie's point, the demographic data set, I wanted to dive deeper a little into that, is consumers are way more complicated than just their age, gender, or race. I just have to put this out there. You cannot say a group of people based on their specific gender or their specific race, they would like certain things. As an example, Ruzba and I, we are both Persian originally, but I'm sure he and I, we are way more different in person or not. I mean, that goes a little deeper into that point. And it's just very biased if you're gonna look at and segment your audience just based on these very, very outdated and basic data sets to just say, hey, you know what, if you're male or female within this age range, you're gonna like this. And in that point of view, how do you then explain people from different race, different gender, they travel around the world, they live together and they're happy with different age range? And that's, and in the marketing point of view, you need to consider this point that that outdated approach, it's not going to work anymore.
That's a great lead into, okay, yeah, Borja? Right.
When you are talking about audience segmentation, for us, which we focus more on the targeting side, you know, thanks to the algorithm and how we've been able to link all these databases, we are not seeing the consumer just in the traditional way. Traditional programmatic, it was basically age, gender, geolocation, and socioeconomic level. Now we look at if you are Hispanic, then you are a Hispanic. This week for you could be a spring break, but also if you are a Catholic Hispanic, you might be, it's a religious week for certain part of the population. All those new addition, you know, new data points that we add in our segment, in our basically segmentation or targeting, that we went from 4 variables to 120 variables, make us be more efficient on picking the right target and actually delivering the right target, the most appealing message, considering the time of the year that we are living, if you are traveling or you are not traveling, if you are in a religious festivity or not, because maybe you are in a religious festivity and it's not the right time for you to receive, you know, an alcoholic beverage, you know, message. Right. So stuff like that is what is making in this case targeting, but it applies totally to research and insights as well.
Absolutely.
This drives me into kind of the next, you know, AI, you know, giving kind of a case study of where AI significantly improved the overall customer experience. And I'm going to start with Jackie on this one. I know Rizbe has things to say too. And Borja, when you're talking, it's a little hard to hear you. I've gotten a couple comments.
Oh, really?
Just letting you know. Yeah. Go ahead, Jackie.
So increasingly, we're seeing more and more brands kind of lean into how AI can enhance the customer experience for them. Especially, I'm seeing it in the retail marketing space. And for me, the best use case, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about this immediately, and we're already reading about it, is the power of personalization. Really delivering very targeted, relevant to the consumer messages. Even in the customer service experience with chatbots, they've gotten amazingly good. You don't even know, you're like, is this a chatbot or person? So I think that's one area. Another one that I find amazing, and I'll give some specific use cases, is when AI enhances AR, augmented reality. It literally now with object recognition allows, it's like a bridge between the digital world and the physical world. Where in examples, you can see IKEA, where you take a picture of your living room, it gets rid of your furniture and you can see what a sofa from IKEA would look like in that living room. Or Nike Fit, I know Ruzba, you have some examples later in your demo, but like you can scan your foot and it'll tell you what the recommended shoe size is. And increasingly, we're seeing that also with the data that's available in the beauty industry. I just read that 65% of beauty consumers want to have virtual product try-ons. And this is probably why you see brands like L'Oreal that are really leaning into it. You can different hair dyes, 10 different lipsticks. I mean, all of this is really powered by AI coming together with technology. And I know, Ruzba, Google does a lot in the beauty space, probably because of stuff like that.
Yeah, and from a improvement perspective, I would say we can break the world into two different slices, areas where we're improving the end shopper and their experience, and then areas where we're improving all the good folks that are between the objects all the way to the point, from the mine all the way to the time that it lands on the shelves, or any of the other experiences, healthcare, manufacturing, life sciences, etc. In the customer or consumer side of the fence, there's some really interesting work that's happening both on the traditional AI side of the fence where, for example, we last year at the National Retail Federation, we announced our shelf checking ability, which is bringing a graph to the table that had just over 1 billion products of the world pre-trained in it. And it would allow a retailer to quickly just point a phone or have a robot go through the store. And you may have seen some of these robots going through stores and quickly identify where gaps exist, meaning doing product identification and detection on the shelves. That helps a customer actually walk into a store, because when I walk into a store, I expect the products are on the shelf. And it makes it so the store can actually fulfill their obligation and do good by me as a shopper. There's those kinds of experiences on the computer vision side. And then there's the other aspect of it, which is we did some work with, for example, Wendy's last year, where we showcased an automated drive-through experience where you can just drive up, communicate with the AI. It could actually take your order properly with a delightful experience and understanding of what you're asking for, but also survive all the changes, as, for example, my little one. Yes, cheese, no cheese, add that, change your mind again, and all those kinds of fun, interesting experiences that we all go through as we go through drive-thru. So those are different ways that we can delight shoppers and end customers per se. On the business side of the fence, there's other aspects. So some of the work that we're doing is around understanding of content, meaning like documents, where we're going in and taking, for example, in your own tenant, meaning your own data sits in your own instance, and we're not accessing it for any other purpose but for your own good. Understanding of those documents and processing them so we can actually ingest them, know exactly what those documents' intents are, and then making an interactive experience. So on the other end, you, from an accounting team perspective, HR, legal, employee training, SOP understanding, all of those folks can now access more information as opposed to where the information sat in the past, which is some storage bucket with limited accessibility to the employees in the enterprise. So on the employee side of the fence, you're looking at productivity improvements and efficiency improvements, which ultimately benefits the end users. But those are the two different areas where we're really seeing impactful experiences that's coming to the table, both on the traditional AI side of the fence, but also the new generative capabilities that can help produce net new things that off of the understanding of the data that's actually there available in any given enterprise.
That brings up the next kind of set of questions, and these are the hotties. The whole Borja, and you and I have known each other a long time, Jackie as well. Like the whole capabilities of AI unlocking 100% KPIs on return on programmatic buying, the squealing that I can hear coming from media buyers that it's taking my job. You're taking my job away versus making me more productive. And then with Jackie, kind of like this is a two-parter. I combined a couple questions. The ethical considerations that are unique to the use of AI overall, and what are the concerns in this cookieless world that brands are having, that consumers are having, and how is Gen Z reacting to data privacy? So it's kind of a two-parter. First on kind of the AI specific to programmatic and job loss. And I think that's kind of job loss across the board. And then B, like on Gen Z and ethical considerations, like what are people saying? What's actually happening?
Borja, why don't you pick the first one?
Sure. In my case, and we had this conversation with the top ad agencies in Europe, Latin America, and here in the States. When I'm telling any of these teams that right now at Mencor, for example, today we are operating around 72 campaigns, and it's just the machine and one trader. In order to operate any agency, to operate 70 campaigns, they might need at least minimum 30 to 40 traders. The question that arises most of the times is like, what do you mean? What I'm going to do with all my traders? And everybody, they are thinking on obviously reducing and cutting, all that headcount that you can do just with one person and one machine. My answer back to them is think about how you can multiply your clients by 300%. Because you have 30 traders working, multiply 30 traders by 70 campaigns, you, Densu, Group M, whomever you are working with, you will be able to serve better your clients because you will have, people with the right tools to do a better job, because the machine is helping. So I'm not thinking on the reduction. I'm thinking on how you can multiply your effectiveness as an agency, as a client. It is easy to think about just cutting, but it's even better, to do the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are hearing the squealings in the media side and the creative side and animation and gaming on AI, but I agree with you that it's additive versus subtracting. And if you're actually moving 72 campaigns with one person, wow, that opens up a whole possibility. There's just more media dollars actually going through your DSP systems and your media trading buying platforms and systems. That it gives you opportunities to go after way more clients that even maybe go into a different segment of clients that you wouldn't normally do because you don't have the manpower to do mid-market that maybe you want to, and there's a lot of dollars there. Now you can move into mid-market or other category segments that you couldn't do before.
Yeah, we wanna transform the role of the trader and make the trader more like a consultant. And now I'd rather have that person, instead of optimizing manually, to really reading the reports on what's working, what's not working, and providing recommendations for future campaigns. Not only that, then the layer of machine learning is, imagine, it's a giant library of knowledge that a human being cannot retain. You will have within the auto category, after running 100 campaigns, every campaign helps you to learn for the next one and the next one and the next one. And that helps you to optimize better. And the most important, to really hit on KPIs. Back when I was in my previous role at NBC Universal, and I was supervising, our programmatic buys through our agency, my question was, are we hitting our KPIs? Yes or not? Because I needed to go back to the CFO and ask for more budget to do a next campaign. So my question, I was obsessed with KPIs. And now, thanks to this layer of AI and machine learning, particularly us, our selling proposition is, if we don't hit the KPIs, we don't charge for the campaign. So all these campaigns, not only that they are being served by one person, actually they are all hitting their KPIs, either the CTR, BTR, viewability, you name it. So that's the ultimate, goal of using data in order to target more efficiently and actually to acquire that customer, the right one, at the right price. So I
like the thought process of moving that person up to strategy too.
Yeah.
You just move them out of tactical and you've moved them into strategy, which is really what clients want, right? They don't just want an answer, they want an answer with perspective and background. So Jackie, to you on the ethical side, Gen Z, how are they reacting to everything related to AI in general?
So first of all, what you guys are talking about there is so important, because upskilling your people and the human intuition piece I mentioned before is critical for the success. But I'm glad you're asking about ethics and ethical considerations, because as much as AI can do a lot of things, I think it's really important for business, the C-suite, the boardrooms, that they really ensure that technology is enhancing humankind and humanity and not hurting it. And the three top ethical concerns right now, one of them is exactly that: humanity in a tech world. Are we over-reliant physically or mentally? And if you haven't seen WALL-E or Leave the World Behind, those are two movies that kind of show you what happens when you are overly dependent. The second one is, bias and fairness. We have to make sure that the data that we're getting isn't going to have discrimination or prejudice in it. And so that's something companies are really looking at, because you could have major backfires, especially on marketing or hiring fronts. And then, of course, privacy. Privacy is increasingly important: user consent, consumer data, how businesses are looking at data collection. So all of those things, I think, are really, you got to keep an eye on them as we're moving forward because of the ethical component. Gen Z, which was your second part of this two-part question, it's interesting. When it comes to Gen Z and their feelings about privacy, they exhibit something called the privacy paradox. On the one hand, they're super concerned. They want to be with brands that are very transparent about their privacy policies. But then on the other hand, they're on multiple platforms putting out a lot of personal information, including photos, on a daily basis. Having said that, though, every study, everything indicates that they will buy from brands that they trust, and they'll shop from them if they have their privacy policies very public, very transparent, and very available. And they'll be more apt to prefer brands that allow them to opt in or opt out. They want to know what's being done with their data. So that's Gen Z's.
Very great, thank you. We're moving into the back half now, and we've covered a lot of ground. Anybody in the audience, please drop any kind of questions into the chat if you have any. We'll give you a minute to do that, and then next thing we're going to move on to are actually the demos. So up first, we're going to do Google, followed by Binge, and followed by and then main core, and then we'll wrap up with more questions. We just got one in. How do we better target an aging population globally who has a lot of money to spend but still isn't digital forward? This is from Beatrice Stonebanks. Anybody want to tackle that puppy?
I deal with it every day because my mom asks me questions about her phone all the time. And it's always the phone's fault. But I think it's a great question. As a matter of fact, I have some friends who also have aging parents who live with them, for example, and ideating about what are the different ways that technology can improve their lives. In one case, even last night, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he has his parents or his wife's parents at a retirement home.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he's using technology is actually just, and it's simple technology. It's not even generative AI or anything completely crazy. Just a simple camera that's installed. And every single time that like the mom or grandma has a problem, she calls and says, I'm having an issue. This is happening. Or for example, nurses are supposed to bring medication, and using the camera, they have it on a alarm. So did the person show up or not? Very simple. They can get an alert, right? Type of a thing. And if they don't show up within 20 minutes, they can call the front office and, hey, don't forget the medication. These are different ways that we can actually just think outside the box of all this cool technology we have. How do we just use them in simple ways to actually accrue value, right? Taking that medication is very important for an elderly person. It doesn't take tons of money. You can buy a Google Nest camera for $100 these days. So just those are the different ways that you could think about improving the quality of life for our families. For example, I'll give you another one, and it costs nothing. On Google Maps, I have added my mom on Google Maps, and she does get lost from time to time. And so I log in and just give her directions. Oh, you're standing over here, or Mom, you're over there. I can come pick you up, or any of those kinds of ways. So there's all sorts of technologies available for us to leverage to actually accrue value. Having that said, there's companies that are working on doing things like automations of some of the efforts and those kinds of initiatives. So there's all sorts of ways that we're going to be able to support the aging population further than what we have in the past.
And I think Beatrice's, which I love you, Beatrice, for saying it. She was talking about also aging population who have a lot of money, that they're not digital. Like, where did they, and I'm going to throw this one to Reza, because I think this goes back to targeting in general, because we've talked about the retirement community, blah, blah. And as we've all aged, we're like, oh, we're not really the retirement guys yet. 60 is the new 40. And, we do have more money, but there's the 70 population, 80, who actually have a lot of money, are mobile, they're living longer, they're traveling, they're doing things. What can you do, to grab that piece of the pie? Because it is really there. They're the one taking those high-end, small cabin tours, spending the big bucks. Reza, any throw in there, and then we're going to go to demos.
I think by today, everyone are in some way or another connected to a digital platform. I think at this point, where you are missing this group of audience would be about the targeting. And I think that's where also Borja's platform comes handy, how you could contextually identify their situation. But where you come into this process is your language. Marketing is all about messaging, right time, right place. Even if I find you at the right time, at the right place, if I don't have the right message, I cannot convince and convert you. And that's where right now we are trying to always come up with one message that's going to satisfy everybody. That's just not it. You cannot, you got to a little separate them out. And I think by understanding who they are a little deeper based on today, and those people have evolved as well during this age, right? So you got to understand where they are today, and by understanding the psychographic and doing the right, simpler messaging for them, you could create that conversion. And I've seen it in different campaigns. Right message for this group of people converts them right away.
Yeah. To add, if I can add into that, and it's funny that you mentioned my daughter, she's 21, and one day said, listen, grandpa and grandma, they don't look like your grandparents when you were growing up. Because, my parents, they are in their late 70s, but they're a very active couple. They travel, they consume a lot, and if we bring to the targeting question, is the beauty is like, for us, we are an AI solution working with all DSPs, DB360, the Trade Desk, Beeswax, and that give us access to those audiences. Within United States, I believe we can reach 310 million people. And then the data that we are using, those 120 variables, allow us to really find that segment in particular, and actually to target the people in the right. Because when we say programmatically, we can target them on their connected TV device. We can connect it on their mobile device, on out of home. So it's a matter of finding the right people. Obviously, you mentioned probably the higher income, the ones that they travel more, and then delivering that message in the right time at the right platform. So that's the way we do it. When we do regular segmentation in linear, is 18 to 49. I always joke when I work in NBC, it's like, well, once you pass 49, you disappear.
You died.
You when you go through main core and you try to set up a campaign, you go from literally from 18 to 99, and then you determine your demo based on the location, even multiculturally. If you're an Afro-American, you're a Hispanic, so all that, it really helped to do the targeting better and deliver the right advertising to the right audience.
Awesome. We're going to run now. Let's go into demos and or slides. Let's first up, Google. Hit it.
All right. Can you see my screen okay? All right. Perfect. So I thought I would start with just talking a little bit about generative AI by itself and then quickly show the demos. But when we were talking earlier about this being a continuum, think about Google's mission. It's been to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. This is not a new mission. This has been the mission, right? And it all comes down to the information, and not just information that's available in like databases, for example, which you could say is structured data, but this also talks about information that's unstructured. And it's about how do we give access. And when you're talking about generative AI and some of the more advanced traditional AI capabilities, but more so the generative AI side of the fence, we are talking about the ability to process, meaning provide accessibility, okay, of that data that's structured and unstructured, and make it so it becomes available and useful for all of us, right? That is what the mission is, and that's what we're trying to go after. So as you see these kinds of announcements from, Google, you hear about DeepMind making their next generation of offerings and Google Cloud releasing capabilities. Just think about the fact that we're just on this continuum, and we want to just make this world a better place so all of us can access that data and level the playing ground so we can all benefit from that environment. Now, Gemini is our baby. It marks the next phase of this journey of AI for us. And we are trying to leverage Gemini in many different ways to accrue value to no matter who you are in which of the industries. Just think about how can I improve, whether if it's efficiency, it's productivity, it's revenue generation, targeting closely. This is the charter of Gemini, is to bring all of that information together in a multimodal approach, which is why we now talk about Gemini, so that we can understand text, we can understand images, we can understand audio, video, and even code. And it's when you intertwine all of those strings together is when you get this beautiful rope that can actually withstand time as we if you were to give an example in strings and rope type of a conversation. But think about the next chapter of the world where we can leverage the sum of all those modalities to deliver net new experiences. We're talking about, for example, ads and targeting. How amazing would it be if you could think about all of those different ways, not just, for example, what I clicked on or where I went. It's what kinds of images I like, what is the context inside of those images. Maybe it's not just a description of metadata that somebody put in, maybe it's the whole image as itself, or maybe it's the way that the image is showing. So just that intertwining it all together really brings the next chapter of our world to life. Now, it's very difficult to do this in one place. There are people who say we're going to do this in the cloud, people who are going to say we're going to do it on the edge. And the reality is we're going to do AI everywhere, right? All of our phones today have really powerful compute capabilities, and we're going to run AI there. There's giant data centers that are going to run AI there. There's robots that are going to have AI in them, cameras. Think about the fact that in this next chapter of AI, we can do AI everywhere. Just focus on which one of those use cases that you care about and you're passionate about, and you'll find the right place for the AI to operate. But our charter is to make sure that we can make that, again, accessible from an operating perspective. Now, just to give you guys a few quick demos, I figured this is more of a digital group, so I focused heavily on the digital side of the fence, but areas where we are making data and information of the World University accessible and useful is things like in engineering side of the fence, right? You're an engineer, you're all over Stack Overflow, you're looking at GitHub repos, and you're just doing your absolute best. Or maybe you're just starting in your career and you really want to do good coding. You now have this assistant who can be side by side you and help you with, for example, help me find all the errors in my code. Think about the productivity. Now I can deliver code much faster, and I can deliver on the use cases that we want to much faster. Now your engineering teams are going to be delivering results better. This is on the media side of the fence, and if you have not tried it, please definitely do try it. Our Imagen capabilities on Vertex allows you to actually just write a string of text and come up with images, and not just any image, like truly beautiful images, impressive images, right? And it follows all the ethical guidelines, for example, that we talked about. So things like we will not allow you to create images of children, right? And those are the different places where we continue to put guardrails around the AI and make sure that what we're doing is actually accruing value to the world in meaningful ways. But here, for example, you have a bag, you want to, for example, put it in different types of settings. Show me a bag that's sitting on a store shelf. Show me a bag that's sitting in a backdrop with a beautiful mountain behind it. You could actually take, and one of the use cases that we showed at the National Retail Federation just in January was help a person who's walking through a store environment without you identifying the person, just a dot, right? Turn a person into a dot. Look at the dot. That dot is moving through a store environment. They grab cream cheese, they grab milk, they grab bread. All of you are probably thinking that dot is interested in breakfast. Now, if you can relate and correlate the products that they're interacting with, maybe you come up with delightful experiences, like instead of giving me coupons and trying to get an additional purchase there, you can now show on electronic shelf labels images of products that you think I would enjoy. In my case, you're going to see me interacting with chocolate a lot. Maybe you show me a chocolate-based waffle, like a Nutella waffle of some sort, right? And allow me to just scan that Nutella waffle little QR code next to it on that ESL tag, and suddenly you show me where the recipe is and where I can grab those. I need vanilla extract, right? I need flour. I need the Nutella. Where are they? Help me walk there, right? These are different ways that creating images dynamically allows us to actually delight our shoppers and give them better experiences than they would in the past chapter. There's areas where you can actually say, I have product and I just want to make my copy better, right? You give it just a few pieces of information and allow it to come up with ideas. And again, it's not a, here is what you are going to do. It's give me ideas so I can do much better as I go to create my product copy, right? And in the consumer side of the fence, like Jackie was mentioning earlier, how about let me customize the product and let my imagination go. I want to change the color. My son loves dark blue. I love dark green. Let's play around with those. And oh, by the way, I don't want to just see it as a flat image. Can you give me a 3D rendering of it? And just quickly generate these kinds of imagery as we go through. And it all comes down to accessibility and usefulness of an information, which all comes back to all of us and giving us the ability to be as creative as we want. Meaning we can now be creative minds and really enjoy the world in ways that our imagination could go. And then the last one of it, which I thought was super cool that we've done with one engagement here, is that the customer can actually interact with the AI, and it's no longer just a chatbot that goes through a rules engine of if the customer says this, go there. I can now say, for example, help me find a traditional Hindi wedding outfit. And by the way, I'm going to Florida in August, right? Now you could actually say, what are my personal preferences? Let's say I'm logged into my account. You know exactly what kinds of things I search for, what kinds of things I like. And you can bring additional context to it because now you understand, for example, what a traditional Hindi outfit looks like, but not just any kind of it. It's in Florida and in August. And it's for a, say, for example, informal wedding. This is all contextual information that you can bring to me. And at the end of the day, when you give me the recommendations, they're going to be relevant to the weather, they're going to be relevant to the location, the style of the wedding, but also my personal preferences as a shopper. So with that, I just wanted to give a few ideas. I know time was limited, but hopefully you found them useful.
No, that's great. We're going to move on to Reza.
Sure. I'm gonna let me share my screen.
And we're again, everybody who's on here, we're going to end up going over probably by 10 minutes. So FYI, it will stay on because this is important stuff for everybody to see.
I'm gonna do a quick walkthrough. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yep.
All right. So I want to give you guys a whole quick walkthrough of what's the life cycle that goes through our technology. We have one main message. We say we are making data more human. And I think, and my message is towards all of our advertising, creative people, and especially, so when my co-founder, Hazel Stewart, we started this journey, our goal was, and we knew a lot of people see a lot of data, a lot of research, and sometimes it's complicated and it looks so scary. And I love every generative tool out there, the Gemini, ChatGPT, any platform that's out there. But still, because I'm a non-creative person, I'm always like, what is it that I need to make? So that's where we are coming in with Bench. We have a cycle that we say we want to understand who is our consumers are that we are going after. We want to give you enough intelligence to understand what's the content that you need to create that would resonate with this group of people, which that's the data that you can take to Gemini, as I think Ruzbe showed, to create the materials you need to reach out to your audience. And as part of the data sets that we have and we create, we are able, before you go spend your dollars, A/B testing, you all have to spend that money. I've spent that money a lot in my life that goes out until figure out who's your targeted audience. We could tell you if the message will work, who are the people, and how they would react. These days, branding, it's a key factor to success. You don't want to make one mistake as part of your messaging. And then you want to automate your ad creation, or you want to distribute your ads either through known platforms, Meta, Google, or even you want to make partner with companies similar to what Borja has as part of distribution of your advertisement. And also within every marketing campaign, you are going after creators and influencers to know who will do the best reach out to the target audience. One thing that I always say is you could come up with every strategy in your marketing, but if you are at the end of the day not going to reach out to the right group of people that you plan for, you are not going to see the conversion you're looking for. Within marketing, we are always looking for conversion. Initially I mentioned our fundamental approach, which is PDS, personality-driven segmentation. I just want to show this quick visual to walk you guys through. Age and gender race sits as part of your tiniest little data sets as is around your consumer. Then you want to dive into to understand the social cultural influences, what makes them who they are. You're going to look at their lifestyle. And within our approach, we found that we could look at this one main important information around your consumers that will never change, After age of 14 years old, your personality rarely changes. So that's what we are going after. And by understanding your consumer's personality, we are able to connect all these type of data sets that you always tend to look at your audience, and you could pull them together, make sense. So you don't have to go from 5 to 6 platforms to understand who is your consumers. Within my entrepreneur life, any product that we had and any marketing team that we've been to, the first question that we always ask, who is your customer? And we always first think about their age range, right? Okay, I think they're 25 to 40. And we all say 24 to 40 because that's what we think is the best audience, right? And we wanted to make this simple, which that's where we came up with Bench and how it works within our system. You give us as little as one sentence that you know about your product, your brand, what's your goal. And from there, we will build you a data set that you would understand every aspect of your audience. I'm not going through the whole detailed report. I'm going to focus on the core personality of your audience and how we capture it. The reason we go after personality is the moment one time you understand your audience personality, that data set will never change. And that's for us to put one thing in mind. We really heavily care about data privacy laws, and we wanted to find one information that we knew we could rely for a long term around your consumers, rather we keep sitting and looking and spying on them, see what they do on part of their behavior or not. So as I got familiar into a lot of marketing data sets, personally, long time ago, one thing just captured my mindset. And I was like, what is it that makes me make a decision unconsciously? All of us, we make decision unconsciously. And it's fascinating that from the morning to the night, we all make a lot of decisions, and we all have that decision fatigue that we go through. So any marketing message that comes to me, right, that could influence my cognitive bias as part of my approach. And I'm sure you all have been through different, like some people respond great with FOMO. Some group of people respond, with confirmation bias by seeing someone else talking about the product. And where we've done, where we came at this is by understanding the personality of your audience, we have the ability to tell you the cognitive bias of your audience. There are a lot, like within our platform, we have the top 48 that have a positive factor within marketing that we have mapped it out. We put it into our platform. So now, and I know this information used to be only available to very limited certain big data company and marketing companies. And we wanted to bring this and make it available to everyone. Why not to use this important influential factor as part of your messaging? And that's where we map this out. We tell you the top 3, 4 that you need to care the most. From this point on, we do tell you the big 5 personality of your audience, but I'm a big fan of Myers-Briggs personality. And this type of personality you used to only capture by asking 12 to 15 questions from those type of surveys. And through our machine learning, we build a data set through our LLM that we could actually look at the emotional behavior and the contextual behavior of your audience to map out their Myers-Briggs personality. And there are 16 of those, but we want to focus on the most dominant ones among your audience. But what can you do with this information? Within marketing, it's all about right messaging, right time, and how you want to communicate. Now you know their cognitive bias. Let's dive deep. If you know their MBTIs, we could tell you their buying behavior, their brand loyalty, how they would potentially use the products they make a purchase for. Every marketing campaign has different goals. Sometimes you just want to create brand loyalty. Sometimes you want to sell. And we tell you the behavior of your audience by knowing how to make that connection. But one thing that we don't do, and I think when you have Gemini in this world that would do the best content creation, we are not going to create you any content, but we're going to provide information that you need to know that would basically give you the inspiration of what you want to make. I think creative teams, they always hear from their colleagues, hey, look at this data sets, look at this analytics, and let's create better content. But they're creatives. They don't know how to put that data sets, analytical data set, into an action. And that's where we brought this contextual information out here. So when we give you the personalities, what we do, we will show you advertisements that has worked positively for this group of people. from different products and different niches and different industries. The reason for that, at the end of the day, the audiences are the same group of people that we all are marketing to. One day you are marketing a shampoo, one day you are marketing a bicycle, to the same group. You just have to know how to put the message at the right time and to within which groups. And you get this breakdown based on your Gen Z, based on your millennial, based on your Gen X, and so on. So that's how we bring this information together. And from this point on, when you build your materials through any AI tools that are out there, and believe me, try it out. You go to your Gemini and say, hey, I think I saw in the demo, create me a image of a bag. It will do a great job, but give more context of who are the people, what's the psychological behavior, and how you want to deliver that message. Gemini will create 100 times a better ad image for you to actually, because you provided more information. And I think that goes a little deeper into how you do your prompting with your AI. And that's what we are. And now that you have your message, you could use our platform to actually validate. And most of the times you know all this, but that's where AI comes in to validate your ideas. We will validate your idea, how the audience will react, how you will create that engagement. And from there, we will walk you through within your favorite DSPs that you want to work on, or you want to go to Google Ads and distribute. And we will guide you through how to set up your Google Ads that would reach out to the right target audience. Same as creators economy, it's a difficult challenge to go out to know which creators and influencers will be the right for you. We will guide you through to identify creators that they would talk the message that you want to talk to the right group of people that we targeted for you within our platform. And what we do here usually takes 6 to 8 weeks for the research company to come up with. Our AI gives you this report within 15 to 20 minutes maximum. And that's Bench.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great data. Borja, you're up.
Sure. While I am getting this up, you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. Basically, it's a very short clip that actually defines three main topics that I want to highlight. We guarantee any KPIs through the funnel, either on the awareness, consideration, or performance. Two, we have, Jackie mentioned that normally decisions are made live. We have shortened our algorithm has helped us to shorten the programmatic process from 100 milliseconds to 20 milliseconds, which allow us to arrive at the bidding process faster, 80% faster than the rest. And that's how we can match, the perfect targeted audience at the right price that in this case, the brand wants to acquire that person. It's a very simple clip. I hope that you guys enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I know there was some really jazzy music that goes with this because I have heard this one before. We didn't really get to hear the music, but I was in my head, I was doing like,
Oh, no.
I was like already dancing around the background because I know there's cool music that goes with that one. That was really great. I think we've kind of tied together a lot of different aspects of this from a marketing, media buying, advertising perspective. I hope that from an audience perspective, you guys got a lot out of it. If there's anything you want to ask in the Q&A now, please, this is your time, everybody. We did get a feedback. This is what I was talking about with data laking and normalizing the data so it's all accessible for us to use for specific dashboards and outcomes. I think when you were talking through that, Ruzba, he got that completely. Anything else you guys want to ask of this particular audience? Again, we will email you the full link so you can rewatch it again. We'll have a video clips available and posting on LinkedIn and other platforms. And if you want to reach out to anybody, please email me directly and I will make the introductions to this team because they are some of the best of the best. Oh, we got it. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Great. Educational. This is all we asked for. We want it to be educational and fun and no BS. But these are some of the best people in the industry. A couple of them I've known most of my career, which is great. It means we're all getting old, but that's why we all have money that now you need to target us. That's all I'm saying. Anything else from the team at large?
Great. Thank you for hosting us in.
Oh, no, you guys are so welcome. And I know there'll be a lot of great stimulated conversation and let's build some client relationships off of this too, because that's what we're all going after.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you so much.
You guys are so welcome. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.